All that to say, I don't know if they want anything to do with me, but I've been searching for them my whole life. And I want to start out by finding my older half-sister. And this is the only information that I have of her. Her name is Sahi, and she was born in August of 1977, and she grew up around Fort Lee, New Jersey. And I don't know if she wants anything to do with me or if she even knows that I exist, but if I can get your help in trying to find my half-sister, that'd be really great. I'm sorry I keep crying. I promise I'm going to go back to other videos, but...
Yo, what up, beautiful people? It's your boy Farouk and welcome back to another interesting video. Hope you're all doing well today. You might all be wondering how this emotional story had begun in the first place. Well, it had all started with a viral TikTok video by a food influencer, Susie Vital, featuring her homemade pesto, which actually have taken an unexpected emotional twist.
Call me crazy if you want, but I've never liked store-bought pesto.
In a viral TikTok video, which has more than 7.4 million views, if I'm not wrong, a very famous content creator and a podcast host, Ed Choi, has used the trend to plead to the internet to help him find his long-lost sister and potentially other family members. This upcoming video briefly explains the full story of Ed Choi since his childhood. Listen to him.
Call me crazy if you want, but I've never liked store-bought pesto.
That's crazy. And although it's not as crazy as store-bought pesto, my story still took me this long to work up the nerve to even try to talk about it. But it reminds me of my childhood, about how I grew up thinking that my mom and dad were married. And it wasn't until I was 13 years old that I found out that my mom and dad were never married. And my mom did not lose the suitcase that had all the photos of her wedding and my dad in it, because I grew up to this point thinking that I never saw my dad because my mom lost all the photos and I had no idea who my dad was. And then when I was 14 years old, as freshman in high school, my dad, who I'd never talked to or even knew the name of up until this point, reached out to me out of the blue to tell me that he was dying from cancer. And then my Korean mom, who even if I had like 104-degree temperature would just make me take a Tylenol and still send me to school, took me out of school for a week, and then we flew to Korea where I finally met my dad for the first time. So on the day that we have scheduled to meet my dad, we meet at the Lotte Hotel, which is like a pretty nice hotel in Seoul, South Korea, in the lounge area. And I'm sitting there with my mother when all of a sudden this guy walks up wearing sunglasses and a pretty flashy jacket with his assistant walking behind him. And the guy in the sunglasses obviously was my dad. And one of the first things he says to me, other than "너 좀 잠깐 보자," which means "let me take a good look at you," is that his jacket alone is worth more than my whole wardrobe. And during the hour and a half that we were there, he didn't really say too much to me directly. He was mostly speaking to my mom the whole time, except to tell me how expensive his jacket was and that his family was one of the wealthiest families in the country, because I'm pretty sure he just wanted to impress me when I really just wanted to get to know my dad and for my dad to know me. And right before, towards the end, his assistant reminds him that he made my dad buy this random mask for me, I'm pretty sure at the Lotte Hotel gift shop, to give to me. And maybe because the mask is such an impersonal gift, but my dad's assistant then advises him that maybe he should take off his lucky golf bracelet that he was wearing to give to me. So my dad gives me that off of his wrist, as well as a cardboard Lotte Hotel coaster that he signed the back of. And then he gave me a check for, I forget if it was like $500 or $1,000, and then he told me that he was going to see me again the next day. So the next day rolls around and my mom tells me two things. The first thing is that my dad's wife canceled that check that he wrote me, and two, my dad couldn't make it because he was too busy with a business golf meeting. And then I never saw him ever again until I went to Korea again to attend his funeral right before the junior year of high school. And while we were in Korea for my father's funeral, my mom actually got an appointment with my father's mother, aka my grandmother, and then we went to her house to go meet her, at which point she didn't look at my mother one time or even say more than a word to me the entire time while we went there to pay respects to her directly. And then we went to my dad's funeral when my mom stayed outside and went in by myself, and I was just a crying, bumbling, fool child that no one knew who I was. Oh, by the way, right before I left, I signed my name in their guest book really big. Now, fast forward to last year when I was on the phone with my mom who lives in Korea, and I told her that I really needed to find my half-siblings. To which my mom replies with, "By the way, when I was visiting you last year, I wasn't sure if maybe at some time in the future after I die, you were gonna wanna find your half-siblings, so I took their names that were in the family registry and gave a copy to you and hid it in your room along with your other important documents. And in addition to that bombshell, it was on that phone call that I found out that my dad did not ditch me for a golf game for that second day, and in fact, he was forbidden by his wife to ever see me again. And for some reason, my mom was like, you know what? I think it'll be less traumatic for my son if he thinks that his dad chose a golf game over him. And it was also on that phone call when I expressed how upset I was that my paternal grandmother didn't even acknowledge my existence when I was sitting there right in front of her, that my mom finally told me that when she and my grandma were alone, that my grandmother told her that she loves me and to make sure that my mom raises me well, but that she has to stay by her son's wife's family's side. And I guess that was another thing my mom, for some reason, thought that would be a less hurtful thing for me to not know. And if you thought the craziest part of it was over, fast forward to about 6 months ago when I saw a video by Stephanie Sue where she talks about chebos, which was a term that I had heard for the first time. And when she was explaining what chebos were, she literally listed my dad's family's company. So that's how I found out my dad's side of the family is a chebor, which is just a Korean word for one of the wealthiest families in Korea. All that to say, I don't know if they want anything to do with me, but I've been searching for them my whole life. And I want to start out by finding my older half-sister. And this is the only information that I have of her. Her name is Seohee, and she was born in August of 1977, and she grew up around Fort Lee, New Jersey. And I don't know if she wants anything to do with me or if she even knows that I exist, but if I can get your help in trying to find my half-sister, that'd be really great. And I have 3 younger siblings after this, but I would like to start with my older sister. So if you know anyone or if this is you, I'd really appreciate it if you could reach out to me. But yeah, fuck store-bought pet.
Well, don't ever underestimate the power of internet. Ed Choi's plea for assistance had gained attraction and the full force of internet came through for him. Within a day, he announced in his TikTok video that he had obtained his sister's contact and he was in the process of reaching out.
So I found my sister, but not really. But first off, I want to start off by thanking everyone. I've literally received thousands of comments and DMs and even emails. I mean, some of y'all were hilariously confident that you found my sister. A lot of you thought that it was this ballerina, Hiso, or even this Korean shaman. Unfortunately, they're not my sisters, but one of you did DM me a name that included an English name. Now, when I read this name, I was instantly taken back to when I was about 15, 16, when my mom first told me that I had half-siblings in the first place. And at the time, she told me that she only knew one of the names of my half-siblings, and it was my older sister. And she only told me her name that one time, and unfortunately, I am literally the worst with names. Immediately after you tell me your name, within seconds, if I don't hear it multiple times, I will forget it. And unfortunately, every time I followed up thereafter, I think I started the week after my mom told me, she told me that she forgot what her name was till this day. But the second that I saw that name on that DM, I instantly knew that it was her. So I had my friend Sujia reach out to the numbers that I found, and unfortunately, I believe those might be old numbers. So I paid for one of those services. I have her number, I believe. I believe it's her cell phone, so I am in the process of trying to reach out to her, but I haven't really made contact yet. I'm gonna try not to cry saying this, but I read through a lot of your comments and emails and DMs, and the outpouring of support and the amount of you out there that are telling me that I don't need their validation for self-worth, it means the world. And especially expectation-wise, before I started this journey, I knew that the likelihood that especially my younger siblings in Korea of them wanting to meet me and validate my existence is probably really low. And knowing that, I'm doing this for the little kid that used to stand in front of his mirror for hours every day, holding up a picture of his mom, staring into the mirror, trying to figure out what his dad looks like based off of the images that he sees reflecting back at him. And then when he found out that he had half siblings, staring in the mirror every day, wondering what they look like, wondering what they did, what they enjoyed. And when my dad passed away, my mom gave me this double-sided photo frame that had photos of my dad that I finally had for the first time in my life. My dad passed away in 2000, and it wasn't until 6 years ago when I was going through a really hard time for some reason. I don't know why. I don't remember why. I decided to open the back of it, And my mom had this from the beginning, this piece of paper, but for some reason that day I decided to remove it. And I found this message from my dad that I didn't even know was there. And it says, "It's your dad. I'm sorry, I have a lot of regrets, but I love you. And I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to live with regrets. And I'm doing it for that little kid who had his sibling-sized holes in his heart that he's carried around till now, who probably is even doing this activism work or whatever you want to call it online because he wants to prove that he deserves to be here. I'm tired of carrying around that baggage. I'm doing it for me." So thank you for being a part of this journey. I will try to give you an update as soon as I make contact with my sister, hopefully. And then after that, try to find my younger siblings. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And hopefully I have a good update for you soon.
In a subsequent latest update, Ed Choi had mentioned in a video that he had messaged his older sister after being awake the whole night, figuring out what to write to her to avoid so much pressure. Look at this.
So I spent like the majority of last night trying to figure out how to write or what to write. I didn't want to give too much pressure. I didn't want to like overwhelm her too much, but I also wanted her to have enough information. Either way, I'm not even sure if this is her cell phone number because it went through as a text message, which just means that, you know, she could either just not have an iPhone or it's a landline. I'm not sure, but yeah, this is what I spent all night writing and that I sent to her. "Hi, my name is Ed Choi, and I think that we have the same biological father. I'm sorry to reach out to you out of the blue, but I've been trying to work up the nerve to do this pretty much my whole life, but was unable to because I didn't have the information needed until recently. I'm not sure how you feel, and of course you don't owe me anything, but it would mean the world to me to connect, and maybe we can help each other out by doing so. And if we end up not being strangers anymore, that would be great, but no pressure. Either way, I will respect your decision, but I hope to hear from you. Ed Choi." I didn't want to overwhelm her, so I tried not to use words like siblings or brothers and sisters. I just genuinely want her to know that I'd like to get to know her in whatever capacity she's comfortable with. But yeah, I am home alone. I was just editing some of these videos to post, and I just had so much anxiety. So making this video. And I am genuinely so thankful for everyone for being a part of this journey, and the outpouring of support in the comments is so overwhelming that I can only read 5 or 6 at a time without bawling my eyes out. And even though sometimes I'm like, man, I feel so embarrassed being so vulnerable online for so many people and just crying so much. But I don't know that I've ever had so much support, let alone such unconditional support, let alone from people that don't even know me. I mean, we're talking about someone whose father on his deathbed didn't have the courage to fight for his son, you know? So, and I know that has nothing to do with me, but man, when you're a child, that stuff really fucks with your confidence and your self-worth. And honestly, I just feel so blessed to have received such support ever in my life, especially about something that's so important to me. So I'm sorry I keep crying. I promise I'm going to go back to other videos, but I just genuinely wanted to thank you all so much.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching. I'll keep you all posted on any other update on Ed Choi's story in another interesting video. Thank you very much. Be safe. Love you all. Peace.